Never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. Hello, everyone. I am going to do a flip through today of the first of 3 illustrated journals that are associated with my last 2 years. So I did a project called the 50 Before 50, and I made a list of 50 things that I was going to do in the year before I turned 50, and I tracked all of that in an illustrated journal format. This is the oldest one, so I'm just gonna flip through this, talk a little bit about some of the things that are here, not really talk about each of the specific things that were on the list. It's not intended that you sit and read every little bit that is here, but I just wanna share the look of this, the look of the illustrated journal. I've continued this process with Illustrate Your Week and using this same format. This is a Moleskine, but it is specifically the Moleskine Art Sketchbook. It's got really thick paper and it has taken fountain pen ink extremely well. It doesn't take Copic markers well, so you can't use alcohol markers, but for my purposes, it's been wonderful. So I started this process and I was doing a couple of things. A, tracking life, documenting life. B, tracking the doing of the things on the list. And C, doing a self-portrait each week for the 52 weeks. And then I continued that into the next year. So just thought I would look through this. It all started with this very first semi-self-portrait and then another semi-self-portrait as I was thinking through what I might do. And by week 2, I knew I was into it, but I still didn't have a list. So I was definitely, my list isn't even done. But the self-portraits continued, and I'm so glad that I did that. The very first thing I did is go and see the Yoda fountain, which was new to me, even though I've lived here many years. You can see I was using some cartooning, graphic novel, some self-portrait and portraiture, a lot of lettering, just an overall emphasis on filling the pages. I was trying to get as much in as I could. I recorded where these things appeared on the list. I did it first, but it was number 19 on the list, and that was fine. I recorded the week of the self-portrait in each case. I went and saw the Lion Street Stairs. I drew something from that trip, reflected a bit on it, some more graphic novel things, self-portrait. Lots of quotes. I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say. That's such a perfect quote for me. That's Flannery O'Connor. So profound. I associate so much with that. I read Daisy Jones. Prime Day happened, and on Prime Day, I bought a ukulele, which was part of my list. Another self-portrait, and again, I noted what number they were in the sequence. So you see the same format throughout, and I just love it. There's just bits here and there of all kinds of things. Some pages have a lot of notes, and some pages have a lot of the graphic novel work. In this one, I was documenting something, how it was going to go and how it actually went. Some pages are not super full. I left them, and that's okay too. Each week, I tried to note what week it was. Continued that with Illustrate Your Week. Lots of things going on, and I can look back through this and it's captured so much for me. We went to the Uke Fest. This has captured so much, and this is the ukulele. I recorded that because it was part of it. This is a little sequence that I still love. It's in the format of Yvonne Brunetti and inspired by working through one of his exercises. Some contour, that had been a big thing for me that year. This is a format that I started doing in this sketchbook and just love. It was really important for me. And I was capturing a few things. Some of these are portraits of other people from Sketchy, and some of these are things from my house or my life or my days in the days leading up to some transitions that were going on for us. I was playing with how I did these. These are some things that you might see in a bullet journal, different approaches to laying out the week and just recording how it unfolded. This is another page like this with a grid of individual drawings that then all work together. For me, this all works together as a beautiful whole. I love the darks. I love the bits of hatching, the dots in this background behind a very simple contour of a chair. And this has a full portrait with the same kind of backdrop, some flowers. This is inspired by a book I reviewed on the podcast at that point. And then all kinds of things happening and being captured. The feeling when you realize the inanity of needing a cheerleader at almost 50, because I realized I did need that and I didn't have it. I didn't have it and I didn't know how to get it. So another one of these, I did 3 in a row that I set these grids up. This is my dog, and I can glance at that and know that. I don't really remember doing that, but I know that's my dog. I love things that break form. This is just part of me. We went and saw the Octagon House. Calluses, it's part of learning to play ukulele. I've gone through and tabbed some of these pages where something I did on the list was recorded. This was another one. So all of these notes are about this, but what the illustrated journal does is give me a way just to look back visually. And this was the finding of the fairy door, which was a really special thing. Another self-portrait. Person I don't know, my son. It's a little bit random, and that works for me. There's not the pressure to have every single drawing be something from my house. So there are portraits interwoven throughout all of my sketchbooks. And this was a big transition for us. Move-in day at college. This was when I was doing 30 inks in 30 days. And those are fountain pen inks. So I was trying different inks and using color, which is unusual for me. And at the same time, I was doing the same drawings in a sketchbook project sketchbook. So lots of things captured. Some pages have more, like I said, than others. Self-portrait. Week 10 already by this point. There's a whole lot crammed into these, and I was okay with the fact that each week might just occupy 2 pages. And that worked for me because I could get a whole lot into a sketchbook. I don't want to fill them fast. I need to really fill them up. And luckily, my aesthetic works with having it all over the place. For some people, it may be super chaotic, but for me, this is both exciting and comforting, and it works aesthetically. There's still oftentimes a real strong grid format, and yet it can hold so much. And I can go back and individually read things, but I can also just flip through. I went to the De Young by myself, and this was a really, really great Ed Hardy exhibit. I did not see the exhibit, but this was on the wall outside. I did a whole lot of circles that year, just filling them mindfully. It was a tough couple of months, a tough autumn. It was a tough year in a lot of ways. I really love this, again, inspired by something I was looking at. This is a great quote. And now here is my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly what is invisible to the eye. So again, there's conversations, me to myself, portraits, some drawing, lots of mindfulness. I started really understanding the mindfulness this offered me. And I loved seeing just how simple line and color could fill in. Coffee cups are always huge. I had 3 chairs in my house, 1 for solitude, 2 for friendship, 3 for society. It's a great quote by Thoreau. I really love it. I don't use blue often, but one of the spans I did during that 30 inks, 30 days was in different shades of blue fountain pen ink, because I had a bunch of samples that had collected through the years. And now I'm so happy I have this. I really love this. And I went ahead and used some of those blues, and it doesn't ever feel like me. And yet I actually really love how these look on the page. I love some of these. This is gorgeous. Love these green blues, love this bright blue. And I really actually love the page of portraits. Hermione celebrates a birthday. I went and saw the carousel in Golden Gate Park. And some things, get covered up. Lots of things happen. Another portrait. This was during October of that year. It is technically the Inktober month, but this was Inktobeva Inktobeva, I think that's what she called it. A different set of prompts, an alternate set of prompts, which I loved. And I did this series of 31 days in this sketchbook, and it's one of my favorite series that I've done. So each day was a different prompt, and I tried to follow the prompts as much as I could. Things like this, sometimes when you do them, you're like, but later, that's such a meaningful picture for me. I'm so glad I did that. And I really love some of these pieces. This was a month that I really enjoyed. And in that month, other weeks happened. Other weeks continued to happen. I left this spot. I intended to go back and draw a picture of my son and I. We had gone to tea at Crown and Crumpet, but I never did go back, and that happens. It sometimes happens. Again, the self-portraits continued. I really worked hard to make sure that happened. The little green tabs on the side tell me there's a self-portrait, and the tabs at the top tell me there's maybe something that was checked off the list. Self-portrait, lots of coffee cups in here, lots of lettering. It's just fun. Trying to just bring in some color. And here's another set from the October drawings. They all go together, same format, different grid. I sort of let it flow and just let what happens happen. These boots, there's definitely things here that are unexpected. The flowers, the tattoo, this wonderful bird sequence. These are so me. This whole series is really me. So week 17, and I used a gift certificate, which was on the list because it's actually a big deal. I have such a hard time deciding how to use them and following through. And these are the 3 inks I bought. It was unusual, and I love them. And so I recorded doing that. I watched Gilmore Girls, all 7 seasons, again by myself, and that was on my list. So I was just making notes, things that happened in each episode. That was a lot of fun and a good way to mindfully watch it and sort of track it. I reread syllabus, and I did the same thing, tracked a whole bunch of things about it. Again, these continue. This is partly because of a game I play. That's an icon from a game. A favorite mug, and recorded the colors I used in there. Self-portrait. Notes, more from the October month, more from Gilmore Girls. Another self-portrait, lots and lots of notes. It was a word-heavy year in some ways, and yet there are still all these little illustrations tucked in. Self-portrait, lots, sometimes just a lot of boxes and just filling of space. The mindfulness of that is huge. Lots of lettering. I love doing that so much. And some things, there are just some passages that are just lots of notes. Coffee cup, self-portrait. That's a portrait from Sketchy. Never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. It's a nice quote. Another self-portrait. It's interesting to look at the progression through the year. I could talk for hours about the whole self-portrait process, but this is not really the right video for that. But just noting they are there and they are a continuous thread. I didn't even always go back and erase. This one's got lots of pencil. Recording anything, whatever happens or comes up is valid in an illustrated journal. Little Pez dispensers, self-portrait. And the year is moving on. We're into December now, and obviously ornaments, self-portrait, Queen's tea. So the self-portraits become this real anchor in this format. These are ornaments. I love drawing ornaments. That one I didn't even ink, but it's still there. Some days are hard, some weeks are hard. As a year, things sometimes are hard. These self-portraits were pretty big here at the end of this journal. So this is week 30, and I'm coming to the end of this first journal, 31. Again, lots of grid work, lots of cartoon style things, lots of lettering, fitting things in, a little bit of colored ink happening. Again, you can totally see me in all of this. And this is I think when I got done, I just didn't want to fill it in. I just liked seeing it plain like this on the page, and I'm glad I made that decision. 33, so we're into February. I got really far into the year in this single book. Lots of stuff happening here. So much. And lots of hatching. For me, that is just my favorite thing. I was working on this 25 million stitches panel. And that's the end of the first book. And it says, the last page in book 1 of the 50 before 50 year. It doesn't seem that long ago that we were in Stockton for orientation, and I sat in the hotel and coffee shop thinking about this year. And yet a lot has happened in these 34 weeks. 18 to go. A blink. I hoped to save myself in this year by being proactive. It isn't working. And yet it did. It was a wonderful year and a wonderful process. It's a book that is so full of the year. And then there is another one that follows this. And then a third one that I just completed as I passed the next year. So this is from 2019, 2020. And then we are another birthday past that now. That's why I thought I would look back and take a look at this. I'm going to do the next 2 books in separate videos because of the length. And I appreciate you watching. I don't always wear the ones with fingers on videos. I usually wear arm warmers, so they're open. But since I wasn't going to draw in this, I thought I would wear these because these are so cute and I haven't gotten to wear them. My mother made these and they're so happy. They're very unusual format, but they're super cool. So these are just about as rainbowy as you can get. Love them. Thanks for watching. And I have ink all over me because I filled a pen today. That's part of me. So thank you for watching. If you want to hear more about this, there are a bunch of podcast episodes on the 50 before 50 year. And you can find the podcast at creativitymatterspodcast.com. And I would love to have you subscribe here at YouTube and check out the podcast. Thank you.